Chapter 85, Paul's Adopted Son.
Paul Compton had a wife and 4 daughters, and in later years a 14-year-old son added himself to the dinner table. That son was me. My own mother was a great cook, and she loved me like crazy. But Mom had to work full-time, and she had a lot to do in the evenings, so I fell into the habit of showing up at Paul's house every night around supper time. Paul Compton is the kindest and best man I've ever known. Paul understands the difference between doing and being. So he never once asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Paul felt he knew who I was going to be, and for Paul, that was enough. Many nights after dinner, Paul's youngest daughter and I would get up from the table and leave on separate dates. But after our dates, we would often seek one another's advice. Over the next 4 years, she had a long string of boyfriends, and I had a long string of girlfriends. But when she wasn't on a date with a boyfriend, and I wasn't on a date with a girlfriend, Paul's daughter and I were most likely together, usually about 5 nights a week. I know it sounds insane, but Paul's daughter and I went at least 1,000 places together without it ever once crossing my mind to hold her hand as we were walking. Somewhere near the end of our senior year, as she and I returned from buying a root beer across town, I turned off the ignition, looked at her, and said, "I recently realized that I enjoy being with you more than anyone else in the world, and that makes it difficult for us to be friends anymore, because it would be torture for me to keep seeing you every night if I thought there was ever a chance it would end." I had never once kissed Paul's daughter good night, but 6 months later we were married. A whole generation of American kids grew up being asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" as though it would be the most important question we would ever face. It wasn't. We learned that we could easily and painlessly change careers throughout the course of our lives. Not one of my childhood pals is currently involved in the career for which he studied. Now that I have boys of my own, I've elected not to quiz them about their choice of careers. Should any person ever ask my sons what's important to their father, I'll wager that my boys will be able to recite it verbatim. Boys, when you're ready to marry, don't marry a person who has high and lofty expectations of you. Don't marry the girl you've struggled to impress. Marry the girl you've always thought of as a sister, the one who knows you as you really are. Marry the girl who has seen your every fault and weakness but likes to be with you just the same. Boys, when you're ready to get married, I hope you'll marry your best friend.
The universe is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper. Eden Philpotts.
Chapter 86, Thinking with Your Heart.
You've heard these phrases: a woman's intuition, female intuition, a mother's intuition. Exactly what, you ask, is intuition? Essentially, intuition is the ability to think with your heart instead of your head. It's the ability to come to the right conclusion when you haven't been given enough information. In a nutshell, intuition is what makes humans smarter than machines. It's also what makes women smarter than men. Notice that I said smarter, not more intelligent. Men will often focus the mind but ignore the heart. Women make this mistake far less often. Intellect is linear, putting facts in columns and rows, while intuition is nonlinear, putting all the facts in a big bowl, then stirring them together like soup, watching to see what might connect. The intuitive person can rarely convince the intellectual of anything, because intuition seldom comes with proof. Intuitive people aren't completely sure why they know what they know. Intellect may not fail as often as intuition, but it doesn't win as often either. Great leaders have intuition. Explorers have intuition. Inventors have intuition. It is intuition that tells them how to go where none has ever been. Intellect is to be cherished. Please don't think I'm trying to diminish it. I'm merely urging you to give intuition the credit it deserves. I hope to give you the courage to follow your heart. Sometimes the thing that makes the least sense is exactly the right thing to do.
The human race is governed by its imagination. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Chapter 87. The Canyon of Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote is a Mensa genius whose only thought is to catch the Roadrunner. With the unlimited resources of Acme Corporation at Wile E's disposal, one might easily consider the Roadrunner doomed. But it never seems to work out that way. Wile E. Coyote is a victim of overplanning. It is this overplanning, not the Roadrunner, that lands Wile E. at the bottom of the canyon. Overplanning assumes that a plan can be and should be prepared for every possible contingency. Unfortunately, life doesn't come in that small a package. It's easy to respond to actual circumstances, but impossible to respond to imaginary ones. Overplanning comes naturally to any person with a highly developed intellect and a morbid fear of failure. Western society has placed such a premium on success that few of us can bear the thought of failure. Yet failure is the key to success. The person most likely to succeed is the one who recognizes the temporary nature of failure and consequently has no fear of it. A person who knows that each failure brings him one step closer to success. In life, there is no rule that says, 3 strikes and you're out. We can stay in the batter's box until we grow weary of swinging or fall over dead. I say, swing till you hit. Isn't it time to quit being scared? Relax and enjoy the game.
Chapter 88. Milestones and Dreams.
I have always had very long arms. Because of this, I spent the first 32 years of my life with the cuffs turned back on my sleeves. In my mind, this made me look rugged. In reality, the only alternative was to button my cuffs 2 inches above my wrists and look exactly like Jethro Bodine. The day I bought a shirt that fit was perhaps the most momentous day of my life. I worked 32 years to reach the point where I could spend enough money to buy a shirt that fit without having to feel guilty. Shirts with long arms cost more than a shirt could cost. With a wife and 2 kids, I could never buy a long-arm shirt with money that might have been better spent on other things. Today, I have 9 times more shirts than pants, but Penny understands. As a kid, I was always impressed when a friend would open his kitchen cupboard to get a drinking glass and reveal 24 matching glasses inside. If his family's bath towels were also a matched set, these people stood on the very pinnacle of Mount Affluent. Matching towels and drinking glasses spoke of having more money than was needed. When I was 20, Penny and I were conned into attending a multi-level marketing meeting. The multi-level evangelist was amazing. He made all in the room feel that wealth, power, and glory were right at their fingertips, if only they could open their eyes to see. He was a powerful speaker, but I felt betrayed by his phony offer. I want you to come over so we can get to know each other better, when all he really wanted was for us to sell soap for him. So we didn't join. But I did agree with one thing he said when he asked, "Aren't you tired of reading restaurant menus from right to left?" I had to answer in the affirmative. Someday, I want to own an office building with a view that will take your breath away. Someday, I want to write a book you can find in any bookstore. Someday, I want to produce a movie. But if none of these things ever happen, I'll continue to live a contented man, because I'm the guy in the restaurant wearing a shirt that fits, recklessly ordering whatever I want. Back home, my drinking glasses are all alike, and my bath towels are a matched set. From here on out, anything else is gravy. Too much has been written about financial goal setting in business, and too little about how we can measure success in more meaningful ways. So let me ask you, What are your milestones and dreams?
You see things and you say, why? But I dream things that never were, and I say, why not? George Bernard Shaw. Chapter 89. Creativity is an inert gas.
Your nerves are on edge. You jump at the slightest sound. You've been pushed beyond your comfort zone. Too many people are expecting too much of you. The pendulum of your life swings wildly out of control. Your soul cries out for peace. Finally, the crisis passes. You luxuriate in an atmosphere of no demands. Life's once flailing pendulum returns to its graceful arc. Your life feels centered again. This moment of emotional recovery is the best possible time to think about problems you've not been able to solve. Moments of great creative insight always follow the times of greatest stress. It's a law of the universe. Think of creativity as an inert gas, a substance unique. An inert gas cannot enter into compounds with other substances because in each of its atoms, the outer ring of electrons is completely full. An inert gas is completely stable and cannot be changed, unless you jolt it with too much stimulation. Pass a current through an inert gas, and a single electron in the outer ring of each atom will be pushed into an orbit where it does not belong. But it cannot stay there. As the electron falls back into its proper place, the excess energy will be released as light. This is a miracle witnessed nightly on 10 million street corners in America. Without argon and mercury vapor streetlights, America would be a very dark place indeed.
Chapter 90. Fingerprints of God.
Cheerful Charlie once told me, "There's no feeling like the one you get when you know you're in the right place at the right time doing the right thing in the right way." My friend David Dalglish knows exactly what Charlie is saying, but David calls it finding your sweet spot in life. David and I have a mutual friend named Tom Pelton who has found his sweet spot in life. It was only 6 p.m. but already dark when Tom walked into my office one January and said, "I've decided to start a church for people who aren't religious." Had it been anyone but Tom, I would have said, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life." But it was Tom. So I said, "Sounds like just the thing this town needs." Tom then showed me a letter he planned to mail to each of the 10,000 homes in his zip code. The opening line of the letter said, "You believe in God. It's Christians you're not sure about, right?" I warned Tom that the letter would probably offend a lot of ministers, but Tom said, "Roy, those people are already in church. This letter is for all the people who aren't." Since Tom didn't want to pull people away from regular churches, he decided his services would be on Saturday nights. The next day, he leased a metal building that sat way back off the road under some trees. The parking lot was exactly the kind of spot favored by drug dealers after dark. When Tom woke up on Saturday, it occurred to him that his parking lot had no lights and that it would be pitch dark by the time services started. Knowing the building would appear ominous and forbidding without any exterior lights, Tom decided to rig up something before nightfall. He scurried around and borrowed lamps, ladders, and extension cords. When he pulled into his parking lot with this ridiculous assortment of gear, a big city utilities truck turned in behind him. The driver walked up to Tom's window and told Tom that long ago, the city had scheduled this particular parking lot to get 4 streetlights. He asked if Tom would please try to stay out of the way, because we need to have these lights up and working before dark. When Tom sees things fall into place with an ease that suggests his path has been prepared for him, he believes he's seeing the fingerprints of God, and there's nothing quite so encouraging as finding them. Why don't you look for the fingerprints of God in your own life today? I promise you, they're all around you.